Hi, thanks again for tuning in to Jacksonville for Life, a local nonprofit organization promoting a culture of life in Jacksonville. You can see our hostess, Karen Ellis, is not here. She's home with her newborn baby. Lord willing, she'll be back next month with us, and I'm praying that she lets me bring the granddaughter on, and I can play with her while she talks. Something that's happening in Jacksonville that not everyone is aware of, the importance is, and that is the final election that we have here locally. Mayor's going to be decided, a couple city council, and you say this isn't really going to affect abortion. Roe versus Wade is national. That's true. However, what we do locally is what we're all about here locally. The mayor makes a lot of decisions. The city council passes the budget. Not only is that important, but those people that we elect now, Daniel Davis is now in Tallahassee. The person that he replaced is now our lieutenant governor. We don't know where those people are going to end up, but we know where they started. So I think it's very important that we elect pro-life people. Now, obviously, we can't say who you should vote for. However, it wouldn't take too long to see these candidates that are on the ballot, who's endorsing them. Is it, pro-abortion Bill Clinton, or is it pro-life Steve Wise? Again, it wouldn't take too long to find that out. It just takes a couple minutes to vote. And while we've finished with that public services announcement, we'd like to introduce Judith Newberg with In Ministries. Judith, thanks for being on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the In Ministries.
The In Ministry is a home sanctuary for pregnant girls and women with small children. And we're 24 years in the workings. I was going to say in the makings, but I guess it is an unfolding kind of ministry. And we're located on the west side of Jacksonville.
Very nice. Very nice. How did you come by that location on the west side?
Well, we were blessed. We first opened up in a small house on the west side, 1 street south of Park and Blanding. And it was a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom, not an eating kitchen. It worked for about 15 years initially, and we were praying and asking God to increase our borders. And I was taking my daughter back and forth to Bishop Kenny, and we had, everybody sharing rides. And I went down the street on St. John's Avenue, and there was a humongous house, and it said, house for sale. And I said, oh, wow, I'm going to go ask. And I made the phone call, and they said, we want $167,000 or $68,000. And back then, we were able to make the rent of the place we had earlier. So I said, that's too much, but it was perfect. Just everything I could see in that house we could use. And then I had, maybe like 2 weeks later, I was down that same path, taking a gentleman home from school, and with my daughter, and it said free house, must move. So I said, yes, we can afford it. Wow. So then that's how it got started, and we did have to move it, and that was the financial aspect of it, but it wasn't 165 or 68,000. So we opened up in October, Yom Kippur, 2000. So it was exciting, and we've been there ever since.
Yeah, well, it sounds like answered prayer there.
Amen. God's the provider. Yes.
I was reading the purpose and mission statement of the ministry, and you talk about safe housing. Can you explain that?
Well, one of the things is we get an array of different young ladies that come from the highways and the byways. I want to first of all say there's some girls that live at the inn or have come for interviews or need help out, not naturally housing, but they come from good homes. Brad, they come from good homes, and they've made a mistake, and mom's hurt and dad's disappointed. He wanted to take that young lady down the aisle with a white dress, and he put all his, go for it's into her life and his family. And then he's disappointed, and sometimes there's hurts, and the girl's on the run, and the boyfriend always looks better than dad and mom at the time. There's a lot of anger there, and that's one thing what we try to do is to take young ladies like that and have time out for moms. And number two, some girls we have that are living in cars. And you say, oh, no, not here in Jacksonville. Oh, yes, in Jacksonville. Or they're living near a crack house. And some girls have dabbled into drugs. And so what we try to do is to get the time out to say, there's another opportunity for you. You could have your baby, eat well, because a lot of these girls that are living off of, maybe they're on subsidies from the state, but they're going to like one of the convenience stores and buying crackers and sandwiches and things like that, and some of them don't take prenatal vitamins, and so then they're drinking or something like that, and then we're going to have one sick baby because you got a sick mom, so the baby is is going to suffer for what the mom is doing. So what we try to do is give her a better alternative. And if it's housing she needs, not all mothers are homeless that come to the inn, Brad, but some of them are. And some of them have an opportunity to get away from their abuser. That's another thing we discovered, that some of these girls, because they have no place to go, they'll make worse decisions, and fear. That's one thing of fear. And so that's what it is. It's a safe place, and fathers aren't, the father of the babies or the boyfriends or whatever that is, except if it's a husband situation, it's a financial crisis why she has to be there. Husbands aren't allowed to come to the inn except with staff there, and certainly if there is a safe situation where the guy is, or the gentleman is abusing, he's not allowed to come to the inn. Although once she's established there, he could visit her at church, because we are a Christian agency, and he can, if he wants to be a part of the child's life still, and he goes whatever the state would want him to do under the abuse situation, then they can visit a church or whatever like that. So that's a good thing, that she's not pushed into a corner.
What about church? Is it in support groups and things as far as their spirituality? You talked about a safe physical place for the mother and the baby. What about their spirituality?
Some know the Lord. Some do not. As I was reiterating earlier, that some young mothers, just recently I've asked, do you know who the Lord is? I mean, who is he to you? I'm not a Christian. I said, well, did you ever go to church? And no, my mom and my dad. Sometimes there's a dad involved. And I said, well, what about your grandma? Because that's usually where it ended. And sometimes you'll get, yeah, my grandma used to, she's the believer. So so we try to get the churches involved. If they go to church, we said, have you told your pastor the dilemma you're in? No. I said, well, why not? And they go, well, he's too busy. So I try to explain to them that that he's like a shepherd over that particular flock. I'm not for the shepherding movement, by the way. I don't want anybody to go there, but he needs to know who's in his church. And sometimes maybe it's the associate pastor that you need to make an appointment with. I mean, certainly you're sitting in that church with your boyfriend and you're living with him, and you're pregnant, or you're not living with him and you've done things, he needs to know where your need is. And we work with the pastors. There's some lovely ones that have, come to us and ask us to help them. And I think that's where the connection is, because we're trying to bridge the gap. So many times the pastors have no idea, or if they do, they don't see beyond the face in the pew. And so that's a great need. And we do have some counselors that come out that have gone through the Jacksonville Theological Institute, and different groups like that come out and minister the Word of God to them. That's one of our volunteer groups. And it's awesome to see that, because you have racial kind of backgrounds, and they give to us things that maybe we can't be able to give to the young lady. So we're excited about that.
That is good. What about education? I know it's even more so now, as far as getting a high school, a GED or diploma. How is that instilled in the young mothers? We asked the young ladies, what is their high school or whatever they finished, and we get girls from 8th grade or
11th grade, almost ready to graduate. Some girls have already gotten their GED, and that's exciting. We always praise them for it, that you've gone that extra mile. But we actually are right next to Florida State College, and that's in the Riverside area. I could walk to it, and so that's an opening there that they can complete their high school diploma right there. Plus, we have a volunteer that comes out with math help if in case they're slow, if they're taking a GED, that they need some help there. So we want them to finish their education. Depending upon what month they are in their pregnancy, that we have to, each case is a little different. But we also try to get them to go to work, and if they're not too far along, because they like money in their pockets. Yes. And so I thank God for our community. Has a lot of good things, Brad, to it, and it's a matter of bringing it in this great big wheel. I like to think of the pro-life movement as a wheel, and the heart of God is in the center of the wheel, and different spokes is Jacksonville for Life, the End Ministry, Emergency Pregnancy Service, First Coast Pregnancy Center, you know, the Promise House, and the different ones, and we need to network more together so we're informative, you know, that yes, we have this to offer, instead of saying, well, this is mine and this isn't nobody else's. And that's where the Lord wants us to be, may they be one. And I think in all aspects of Christianity, as well as the work, the highways and the byways, we need to know where we are. I like the Gospels, because Paul wrote where he was. You know, and it wasn't that he didn't want to share it with anybody. He wanted to know when he was being persecuted and when everything was fine, you know, when he was shipwrecked or whatever. And Peter, you know, they all knew he was hung upside down. You know, it wasn't a big secret because they all knew what was going on. And I think really that we need to really maybe get together, these pro-life agencies, and really share the heart of God there and pray together. I think that'll be a good thing. How about that, Brad?
Oh, yes, I agree. There's no reason to, you know, go with the wheel, reinvent it, or to sit there and say, well, you know, this is ours, and you know, someone comes across and does something better than someone else. You know, that's fantastic. Like we shared earlier about some things down the road, you know, that isn't being met locally, that you know, someone needs to pick the ball up, and who picks that ball up and who carries it, you know, let the Lord decide, not us. You talked about the education assistance. Is that something that you can assist the young mothers as far as financial assistance, where to go and who to ask? Because that's
yes. If they're taking a GED test, we go ahead and take care of that finances of it, depending on where she's at. We have a program that's called the Building Fund, and if a girl is workable, if she can work, she puts $25 a week. I know that's tuppence, but a week for her savings, and for things like this, for her testing or whatever she needs. If she needs any kind of screening or something, we assist them with that. Plus, we get really good help with the Hope Fund. You know, that comes at Christmas. The Hope Fund helps with girls that are needing, if they have a car and they need to get back and forth to school, we can get like tires for them if they need tires, and this way makes it a little bit easier for them.
Yeah, I like to hear what you're talking about, the instilling a savings in them.
Absolutely. It took a long time in the works. We were at one time earlier in the ministry, we were charging them $25 a week, and we did that as an instill because the way we were raised, you know what I mean? You got to give to the kitty, we used to call it, you know. And we always had intentions to give them back, but I tell you what, pulling teeth to try to get them, especially when they were working, that's my money, you know. And because we live in a different world, Teresa, the co-director, she's a blessing, we decided we were going to go ahead and do this building fund, and they have like a ledger, and they see how much money they have, and so when they leave, they have the opportunity to get all those assets back, and it's really good because it helps them put on electricity for deposits or whatever else they need. So it's really a good thing.
And not to sound like my pastor, but it's it helps so much as far as, you know, having your budget. This is what God's given you through a job or what other sources of income. You know, save this percentage, give the church this percentage, and boy, not having financial pressure, especially on a young mother, young family. That's, you know, they're so far ahead in the game, being that, having that instilled, that they really won't probably know that for later in life.
Well, we actually, Brad, get calls back, because I mean, some of our children are grown adults.
Yeah, 24 years, sure.
And it's an awesome thing. We have one young lady that's in Stetson, and that's an awesome thing. But they come back, the mothers thank them because they made a different decision that maybe they would have done on the whim. And that's so many times that what's happened is they're afraid. There's an easy out, and they think it's the only out. And we actually have mothers that are mothers of the children that have gone into a situation, but they said, gee, in volunteers, you know, I had a child that I terminated. I didn't have any place to go. I didn't know this place was around, and they didn't have anything 30 years ago like this. Because, Brad, when I used to march against abortion, and if I can say this, in '86, October of '86, it started. I was going to Agape Community, and I was in one of the mainline churches, and they said, well, Agape Community, I don't know if you know it, it used to have, everybody used to meet on a Tuesday and then a Saturday night. It used to be Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night Live came. And you had the Episcopals, the Catholics, the Pentecostals, you know, it was just really, really nice. And they were talking about pastors against abortion. Now, this was 1986. And I said, well, I can do that. Now, I had a small daughter at the time. She was 7 and a half. Her name's Rebecca. And I had a 1-year-old. And so I said, well, we're gonna go there and march. And we went to Baptist Hospital at the time. Each group went to different hospitals, although we knew that St. Vincent's at the time wasn't doing abortions, and I don't know if there was I guess the people who knew where abortions were being done. So I said, well, I'll do the Baptist Hospital. So I went to the Baptist Hospital and we marched. But we were asked to bring a sign with us. So I told my daughter Rebecca, I said, we need to make a poster. And she looked at me at 7 and a half, Brad, and she said, cherish, don't perish.
Nice. And
we made our poster. And we used that poster every time we went to San Marco, and where the abortion mill was there. And it was really indicative of the pain involved in abortion. And from when mothers, at that time we could march on the sidewalk and pray, and they could see that. It made some heads turn around, and I know many were ministered to, and I know some children were not terminated because of that, and others that were out there marching. But that's basically how we got started on that, and it took a 7-year-old girl at the time with her heart. But the Pastors Against Abortion, now, you know, today, would there be that? You know, Pastors Against Abortion marching against these Planned Parenthood places. Do you know one, if any? I mean, it would be awesome if there would.
Yeah, I know of a couple.
I know they go to the courthouse once a year, and I know we have Run for Life and March for Life and all that. That's an awesome thing. But I really think the awareness that pastors need to get out of the pulpit sometimes and really look at things. And there's a place for everybody on this, because it breaks the heart of God, and it should break ours, you know. And if you cannot house a girl in your home, you know, people out there, well, you know, I'm against abortion, but what can I do? Well, seek out what's out there and bring diapers to those places, or bring a food card to one of those places to be the voice that maybe is not unheard. Maybe you're not going to be on a podium yourself, but you could at least help in that community for life and do volunteer work.
Yeah, just like any volunteer organization, if you have time, people can volunteer time. If you don't have time but you can volunteer something financially, do that. Now, since you guys are a nonprofit, how would that benefit the people who were donating financially?
Well, in 2011 right now, they could take it off their taxes. I don't know what's going to happen later, but that's probably not the real reason why they do it.
Sure.
But we don't have any government funding. We're all by the love of God, and like many other agencies, we have pennies from heaven, and people bring in their bottles full of pennies, and that's an awesome thing. And churches collect. On Mother's Day, we get a blessing from one of the local churches, King of Kings, that really do the penny drive. And funding is so important, but every cent counts. You know what I mean? Everything does, because if you realize, I don't know how much people pay to keep their houses running, but this isn't a little office building that we're doing things out of, passing diaper wipes and clothes, and that's a nice thing to do. But we're actually housing the mothers. You know, we have the ability to have 6 mothers and their children there, and you have to take care of their bodily needs. You know, the Lord said, what is it good to say, you know, be well with you, and you don't take care of their food, clothing, and shelter? I mean, you have to put your money where your mouth is. And so every penny counts. Like I said, somebody could sponsor. We ask for sponsorships. If somebody cannot have a girl there, they say, I can do this. I can sponsor one girl for a week. I can give $10, you know. And it does add up. And like I said, our electric bills, I don't know how your electric bill was. I mean, we were going to bring a campfire out in the middle of the room to keep us warm. I'm teasing, but we've always been blessed, Brad. You know what? And this is God, because we've never had our electricity turned off in these last 24 years. Either house, never. I never had our phone disconnected or anything like that. And people don't realize, if you look in the yellow pages, you'll see where the is indicated, and it's under the first pages of the yellow pages, and it's called Abortion Alternatives. Right. And that has been a good site, and many other pro-life agencies are under that, because it's the first call when a girl is looking for an abortion. She looks under A. So she's going down the thing, and she said it's a safe house, you know, okay, she's looking. And this is when they call us, or they go to one of the emergency pregnancy service or First Coast. They want help. Sometimes it's an abortion situation, and sometimes you can catch them in the run and try to tell them that there's another opportunity for them to make not a hasty decision, make a decision that will affect their life to be prosperous and not destructive in their behavior. So.
You talked about alternatives to abortion. What about adoption, counseling, and referrals?
Okay, we're not an adoption agency, the End Ministry. There's some wonderful adoption agencies here in Jacksonville, and some wonderful attorneys. And so when a girl says that, yes, I'm thinking about placing, what we do is we go through the books of a basic decision making with Loving and Caring. And what we do is we give them the information on making good decisions, and we refer them out to a number of different agencies that they're choosing. We do make some phone calls. Sometimes the attorney or the agency will come out directly to the ministry and minister to the girls, their pros, what they're looking for to take the scariness off of it. You know, so many times you have like a bad feeling, like, oh, I could never, I'm going through 9 months of this, and you think I'm going to give my baby up, I'll rather terminate it. You know what I mean? And it's just stinking thinking that happens. Okay, so what we try to do is give them information that there is open adoptions, you know, co-op adoptions. Nothing has to be a secret anymore. And it's not because you didn't love your child to place it. You lovingly placed it because you knew what you had at that time wasn't where you wanted to be raised if you had the opportunity to be the child you're carrying. And we always go through, at least I do, the Moses story. You know,
Yep.
and what I just do is, at that time, Moses' mother and father had to make a decision for him. Of course, they had a little girl, and girls were okay back then, but when they wanted to destroy the firstborn of all boys, so the mother loved that baby. She said it was a beautiful child. So what she did was she made a basket, and actually the sister was the one that put it down the Nile River. And of course, that went to a very expensive home. That child was picked up, and that's where Moses got his name, drawn out of the water. And in that, God returned that family as one and used that young boy because the mother unselfishly and father decided that child's life was not a possession. It was a gift, and they had to trust God in that gift. And there's so many wonderful families out there that wish they could have a child. And so we think of it unselfishly. But if they want to parent their child, that's fine. We have as many cribs and bassinets as we do beds. So so we're not all, you know, well, you have to do this. It's not a you have to do nothing. It's where do you want to come? Where do you want your baby to go? You know, it's a healthy decision. It's a nurturing decision. And so we give them all the information. So it works out really well. I mean, you know, and if anybody wants some more information about that, they can contact our ministry.
And there are, again, like you said, options besides abortion.
Yeah, adoption is an option.
Yep.
You know, so that's what we try to minister to them.
Tell us about your gem store.
Okay. Well, the girls that live there, they have projects to do. They go to classes. They learn to crochet. I mean, we do fun things too. It's not all, you know, you got to scrub the closet. Of course, we don't do that. But we give them projects to do. We have classes to go to, whether it's a volunteer class, or they want to do an extra, oh, I want to plant in the garden or something like that, or they want to sweep the porch or do something a little extra. We give them gems. And the gems are they're valuable. Nice. And so they get to cash them in. And we have a lovely gem closet. And actually, we tell the girls, while you're here, you never have to buy diapers or diaper wipes or clothes. I mean, we have an array of different items that you can purchase. Sometimes we have mothers that live there that also have another small child. And so she has to take care of the needs of that child. And we get so much out there from the community, the believers that come and give us wonderful clothes, wonderful toys. And I don't know if we have time, but at Christmas, we have an annual, in fact, it's 24 years, a Christmas Eve party. And we have St. Nicholas show up, and he shows the love of God. And we have the Christmas story given. Last year was cute. We had my granddaughters were the angels and the Marys, and the Dolly was, of course, Christ represented it. And they showed the love. They actually gave scriptures, and then we gave out the gifts, and it was awesome. And all those gifts were from Resurrection Catholic Church, a school. They give. They have for the last 15 years provided many gifts, plus other agencies give a toy. And the children actually give the gift instead of buying for themselves, or this is for my teacher. They go out and buy a little toy for the child, because we give them, a lot of the mothers that come back, that is a tradition for them.
Judith, let me ask, I know we're out of time, but how can someone get a hold of you at the in ministry?
They can call us at 904-388-7730.
Very good.
Okay. And we're on Facebook too.
Oh, very
In
good.
Ministry. Yes, and so you can get through that, and we're on inministry.org. And we're actually building the website, so I hope it's finished again. We redid it, so I'm hoping it'll be finished by the time. But please call us.
Very good. Thank you for watching. Until next time, do something. Save babies in Jacksonville.